Yeah, that's ours, because I couldn't get the mouse to work. I don't have.
Put that back up.
Okay.
Well, good morning. It is a few minutes past the appointed time for the meeting of the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board for November the 16th, 2017. Carol, I believe we have a quorum. Do you agree? So we will call the meeting to order and begin with the second item on the agenda. You've been furnished with copies of the minutes of our previous meeting. Are there additions or corrections? Shall we approve them? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the October 26th meeting. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
I will abstain as I was not at that meeting.
All right. If you all would note that Kim is abstaining on that vote. Otherwise, the votes are all yes. The minutes are approved. That brings us to item 3, the revenue and expenditure report. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet the revenue and expenditure report for the period ending October 31st, 2017. On the revenue side for the month, it's $9,262,742. Fiscal year, $37,772,700, and total program revenue of $784,881,094. On the expenditure side, you will see for the month $11,926,001. For the fiscal year, $30,277,413, and total program expenditures of $346,995,740. You also have in your packet the budget and obligations report. We've handed out a revision. There was an accounting anomaly in there of about $26,000 in the line of senior health and wellness centers for the remaining budget. So that's been updated. That is the only change. It was something that was done. Staff caught it right after the reports were published. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are there any questions for David about the expenditure or either of those reports?
I move that we accept the reports.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the reports. Further discussion? Is it noteworthy that we've collected more than $777 million already?
I think it is.
I would want you to note that we are above the projected target and we have more time to collect the sales tax. That's not insignificant from our standpoint. Okay? No further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The reports are received. That brings us to item 4, David, the all-important meeting schedule.
Yes, sir. Item 4 is approve the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board 2018 meeting schedule. The Open Meetings Act requires that we file this meeting schedule. It's something we do every year.
Are there questions or comments about the meeting schedule? Been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting schedule for the coming year. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The schedule is approved. Item 5, David.
Item 5 is recommend resolution approving amendment number 6 to contract with Brookville Equipment Corporation, MAPS 3 Modern Streetcar Vehicles, increase of $23,540, project M3-S005. This is an item that we asked Brookville to do in order to be able to, the pantograph that's on top of the streetcar has a time that it takes for it to retract, and we've asked them to revise that and significantly reduce that time that it takes for it to come up and down, and therefore impacting our travel time around the route. Then also we asked them for, it's called color coupons. It's big pieces of metal that they painted the paint on so that we could see how it would look on metal. It's kind of like the samples that you'd get at a paint store. So those are the two things on this amendment.
We did not have a quorum yesterday, but this and the other streetcar items were favorably received in our informal gathering, since it was an official meeting. But with that, I'll move approval.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution before you in item 5. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Item 6, David.
Item 6 is recommend resolution approving change order number 8, MAPS 3 Streetcar Storage and Maintenance Facility, increase of $13,370, project M3-S006. This project is very near completion. It's about a week away. It's looking fantastic. I'm really proud of how this project has turned out. But this is a change order for various things as we try to wrap up the construction. You can see there's sod, there's an additional camera, there's a backflow valve. So again, as Mr. Harding said, this comes with the approval of those that were present yesterday.
Moved and seconded. We approve the resolution in item number 6 on the agenda. Is there further discussion or are there questions? All right, then. It's been moved and seconded. As many as approve it, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That resolution is approved. Item 7.
Item 7 is recommend resolution authorizing purchase furniture, fixtures, and equipment not to exceed $75,000, MAPS 3 Streetcar Storage and Maintenance Facility, project M3-S006. This is an amount that we had budgeted in the project, but we're coming to you for formal approval to make these purchases. Most of this will be done based on city and state contracts.
All right. Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 8, David.
Item 8 is recommend resolution approving change order number 5 and amendment number 4, MAPS 3 Modern Streetcar Mainline, increase of $204,510.40, project M3-S007. As you know, we are heavily into construction of the streetcar, and there's always items that come up as we go along to make sure that we do the best job that we can. We find undocumented utilities and just various things. So I can go through this one by one or just hit the high points, but item 4 is waterline modification, an unknown waterline. And that waterline, you'll see there's several items on here that relate to that waterline. Item 7 is a hot tap meaning when you're going to tap a line that's still under pressure, still under service. Additional paving on the amendment side of this, so as we go along with the construction and to make sure that every little bump isn't too much to stand for a car, additional paving, those kind of things. So Staff recommends approval on this.
Is there further discussion? Been moved and seconded that we approve it. As many as approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. David, before you start this last one on the streetcar, I want to ask just this one general question about all of them. These are all change orders, but none of them increase the budget.
That's correct.
So these are all within the purview of the budget that's already been established.
That's correct.
All right, let's go ahead with the next one then. Item 9.
Item 9 is recommend a resolution authorizing the sole source purchase of wayside power cables and tow bars from Brookville Equipment Company. $4,561, MAPS 3 streetcar system, project M3-S007. The wayside power cable is basically a big giant extension cord, and it connects from the plug-ins in the maintenance facility, and it'll plug into the vehicle so that they can charge them when they're sitting there being stored. And then the tow bars are just that. If the streetcar needs to be moved, it allows another vehicle to pull those. And this is a sole source purchase from Brookville.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Before we go to item 10, I want to mention just an item of procedure here. I have received 3 requests to be heard on the next item on the agenda from citizens that are here, and so that we may consider it before the vote, the thought is that we'll have David present the resolution, and then I will call on the people who have asked to be heard on it, so that we can hear before we vote what they have to say. Is that agreeable? All right then. David, item 10.
Item 10 is recommend resolution authorizing purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, MAPS 3, Senior Health and Wellness Center number 1, $22,037.71, project M3-H002. This was is a request from the operator. This is Wellness Center 1. A request from the operator for additional exercise equipment. You have, that was handed out to you, this large sheet here that lists all of that equipment. So you see that it's plates, weight plates, it's dumbbells, it's kettlebells, medicine balls, those kind of physical exercise equipment. This would come out of contingency that is still in the project. There's roughly $26,000 that's in the contingency account right now. This is about $22,000. It was discussed by the subcommittee yesterday at length, and ultimately they voted no to fund this.
Right. This.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
This question, when you say it's in the project, does that mean in the overall budget for senior wellness centers generally, or for this particular wellness center?
For this particular wellness center.
So it's already in their budget, in the contingency fund in their budget?
There is contingency fund. There is contingency money available. It was not an original type budgeted item,
right,
but there is contingency money still there.
Okay. Mike Dover, do you want to be heard on this first, or would you prefer to hear from the? All right. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to go in alphabetical order. I have three requests, and I'm going to start with Bill Fleming. Bill?
Mr. Chairman, advisory board members, thank you for allowing me to speak to you. My name is Bill Fleming. I chair the nonprofit which operates Wellness Center number 1. And first I would like to tell you that the Wellness Center is doing well. Our goal and objective for this year would be about 2,000 members. We currently have a little over 4,000 members enrolled. And every square inch of the space is in use. We could use double the space, I think, and still fill it up. When we originally did the Wellness Center and plans were made for it, just to give you a little bit of history, there were a number of things that were scaled back due to budget constraints. We cut square footage out of the fitness area. We cut back on equipment and other things. As we went on in the project, one of the items that would have been included would have been some fans for the fitness center. And we looked at that, and instead of doing that, we had asked that that money be redirected to buy this equipment in lieu of those fans. As it turned out, that money wasn't in the budget for that anyway. But we do have some money that's left dedicated to Wellness Center number 1. They're contingency funds. We have about 20% of the space in Wellness Center number 1 that doesn't have equipment. It's just vacant space. All of that equipment is used on a regular basis. If you drive by there about 10:30 in the morning, you will not be able to find a parking place. Our overflow often is over into the church parking lot. This equipment is really needed, and some might say, well, you have a lot of members, why don't you just buy it? But I'll tell you, with new members and that many members comes a great demand on our programming costs and everything else. And this equipment is sorely needed to service the citizens and to make sure that we utilize Wellness number 1. So I would ask that you authorize this $22,000. It will go a long way helping us to be able to provide the services we committed to you and to the city to provide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate all the efforts that you put into this. The next one I have is Rusty Munns.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the Wellness Center. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm 67 years old. I live alone and I work at home. For a long time, I was a bit of a hermit. There were many days when I didn't leave my house, many days on which I didn't even talk to another human being all day long. That was fine with me, actually. I enjoy living alone. I've done it for a long time, and I'm cool with it. But it all changed on April 14th when I made the decision, a radical decision for me, to join this Wellness Center on North Rockwell. And that decision changed my life. I might even say that it is saving my life. I went to my first class. It was a Tai Chi class 3 days later. On May 3rd, I attended my first chair yoga class. You can imagine what that might be. I took traditional yoga classes starting August 8th and added a second yoga class shortly after that. We are so lucky to have excellent instructors at the Wellness Center for all these classes and for all the other classes that I'm not personally involved in as well. They are experts in their field. They work hard. They motivate us old geezers. It's not easy. And they go above and beyond the call of duty every day. Sadly, not unlike the teachers in our public schools, many of our instructors are having to dip into their own pockets to purchase equipment and supplies for their classes. This is not fair to them, it's not a good business practice, and it's not sustainable. The original projection for the Wellness Center assumed a maximum membership of about 1,200 people. That's my understanding. The actual number is now closer to 3,600. Clearly, the budget for the center based on 1,200 members is going to have to be adjusted if you've got 3,600 members. That has to change. But that high enrollment justifies the investment that you all have already made in this Wellness Center. Obviously, the need is there, maybe a greater need than you anticipated. That's a good problem to have. Had you not opened that Wellness Center in my neighborhood back in April, I'd probably still be staying home most days, not getting out, not getting any exercise, and continuing on that downward spiral. Instead, I go to the Wellness Center 6 days a week, averaging 2 classes per day. And as a result of those classes, I'm stronger, I'm more flexible, I'm more coordinated most of the time, I have better balance, I've lost 55 pounds, and I feel better than I have in years. With the opening of the Wellness Center, another point. In addition to all that, I've made new friends. I'm talking to actual human beings on a daily basis now, and I'm no longer a hermit. With the opening of the Wellness Center, the city of Oklahoma City has made a great investment in our community. You should be proud of that. The returns on that investment are going to be hard to measure, but they are very, very real. And I'm just one example. There are about 3,600 other great examples on North Rockwell, and there will be thousands more when you open the other centers. You've made a good investment. I appreciate so much what you have done to provide this life-changing opportunity for me and for many, many others as well. And I would encourage you to keep all those people in mind as you plan your budget allocations. Thank you for your consideration.
Rusty,
Yes,
I'm not speaking for the council or the mayor or anybody else here except me personally. I want to tell you thank you for coming to share your story. You're exactly what we had in mind when we built this Senior Wellness Center, and I appreciate so much because it's very inspiring to all of us to know that lives can be changed. We thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you, sir, and thank you for providing the opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We also have signed up Raymond Pringle. Raymond?
Thank you for listening to me. My name is Raymond Pringle. I joined Health and Wellness Center in April of this year. My story starts out January 30th. I lost my wife due to kidney failure, a wife of 37 years. Grieving, I had completely shut down. I didn't go out. I didn't have any contact with the outside world. My world was crumbling. Because I hoarded in my house, I started having physical problems. Like I sat all day, my hips were hurting, and I couldn't walk. I finally was encouraged to go to my doctor. She started me on physical therapy, but she also gave me a piece of advice. She said, there's a wellness center on Rockwell. She said, I advise you to go. They've got a great seniors program. And I went, and that day I joined. I am now taking Tai Chi 4 days a week. I'm taking yoga 3 days a week. I'm taking Sit and Be Fit 2 days a week. I'm there at the center 5 days a week. I enjoy it. I've met countless number of friends. When I was in one of my classes, I had a dizzy spell, and I took a knee because rather than falling, 2 people that I had not met until that day came up, picked me up, took me outside. I also got calls from my instructor and a couple of people there checking on me. Since then, I have become more engaged in life. I have friends. I am on the go. Before I started going, I wouldn't have given you a plug nickel for my life. But I have met a bunch of people. The instructors there are experts. They have helped me. I have got a life now. It's hard for me to go on without my wife. But this place has given me the will. And if there's anything that they need, they've moved a classroom from one room to the gym because they were getting too many people. Well, when they moved into the gym, they ran out of chairs because there were so many people that wanted to come. The bigger the space, the more people are coming. They love this place. And like my friend Rusty has just said, instead of 1,200 people, there's 3,600 people. And I have not met a stranger in all the time that I've been there. Everybody is so friendly. You can't be depressed in this place. Everybody is there to help everybody. And if there's anything that they need, please give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. We appreciate you being here. Citizens are always welcome here, and we really appreciate what you've had to say. Thank you very much. I don't have any others that have asked to speak on this, so Michael, you want to give us the report from the subcommittee?
Sure. Well, first of all, how could you not want to give Rusty and Raymond anything they ask for?
Well, I'm a yes on that.
I understand. Gentlemen, your testimony is very, very, very appealing and very persuasive. And the success of Wellness Center number 2, or Wellness Center number 1, is beyond, as Bill mentioned, beyond expectations many of us have. And in fact, I would argue that that testimony alone is an argument for Wellness Center number 5. The need for wellness centers in our community are so important, and it does change the lives, as we've seen with Rusty and Raymond. The issue for the subcommittee has to do with this board approved over, I forget the exact amount, some $158,000 from not project, but from MAP's contingency funds, if you all recall, to do a number of things to finish out Wellness Center number 1. The biggest expense had to do with the wall in the gymnasium area, if you recall that. The intent was for those monies to go toward those things. I think that for me, and for the subcommittee members, the issue had more to do with those monies were awarded for a particular reason, and we were uncomfortable. I'll speak for myself. I was uncomfortable with using those monies then to change and do, in this case, basically equipment stuff, instead of what was originally in the original budget. And I guess what I use as that example, you'll see here we're going to deal with on the agenda is a request by Wellness Center number 2 of some $400,000, more than that, that will be, if approved, would go for Wellness Center number 2 from not project, but program MAPS fund, those contingency dollars. And the example I'll give is, let's say that was approved. And I don't think we're going to do that. I know we're not going to do that today. But if it was approved, and let's say everything was done, but just to make the point, if everything was done then for $200,000, and there was $200,000 left, and the request then was to come back and say, well, we've got $200,000 here. We'd like to use these money to do these sorts of things, all necessary, important things for the Wellness Center, but in fact was not the intent of what those monies are supposed to be used for. Last December, when I actually asked this board to consider not actually approving a budget, but sending on to the council the message that we indeed, if monies are available, would like a 5th Wellness Center, I withdrew that motion after a significant discussion that just about everyone in here had. And we all agreed, and it was Michael Adams who first made the first comment, because I went back and read these minutes, that it was probably, in fact, it was not a good idea at that point to consider doing extra things in any of these projects. It just wasn't appropriate and fair. That it's different with something like a foundation issue and the building was going to collapse. But we would hold off and allow all of the subcommittees to bring forth. You all remember that discussion? We all agreed to that. And it made sense to me. In fact, I withdrew my motion because of that. It was in that spirit, again, and feeling that my fiduciary responsibility, that until we know what all these projects are going to cost, I'll have more to say about that on another item later, but until we know what all these projects are going to cost, we just need to wait. And the things that are being asked for in this particular, these additional funds, I think are things that we could wait to see how we are going to come out. They're needed. There's no question about that they're needed. That's not the issue. The point for me. The point is it our fiduciary responsibility to turn around and use those monies for something that was different than what we thought we were approving in the beginning.
Bob?
I just want to say on the record that I'm going to abstain from discussion and vote on this. I'm a member of the Wellness Center. I work out there probably not as regularly and as often as I should, but I make use of the facilities, and so I'm going to abstain from discussion and vote on this particular matter.
Well, a couple of questions for me. One is when you said that we had approved the allocation of $158,000, are you saying that this is what's left from that $158,000, or did we do what we were going to do with the rest of it?
Of that $158,000, roughly 100 of it went to the walls in the gym. And there were some other items on there that we did do. However, they chose to hold off on doing the fans. There were some big fans that were to be, I believe, in the workout area. And they chose that after evaluating it a little more, maybe it wasn't the most effective use of that money. With the idea, I mean, at the time, with the idea, Mr. Fleming has been telling us that they would like to get this extra equipment because they felt like they were short as far as of equipment. And we've been holding off until the project was completed. Of course, it opened earlier this year, but we still have bills that trickle in, chargebacks within other departments and those kind of things. So we've waited a while to make sure that we're stable as far as the funds that we have.
Well, and Michael, I'd want to say this too. I remember our discussion the same way you did, and I agreed when you withdrew your motion. I do say I see a significant difference in the information that we have available today. We have now let the contract on the upper park, the streetcar, and in addition, when you were suggesting that we ought to send forward a senior wellness center, that would have been an expenditure saying that we wanted to spend an extra $15 million, which I see a significant difference in that than $22,000 worth of needed equipment, speaking for myself. So I see these as two separate questions with regard to that.
Can I just make one thing clear, though?
Yes.
This is not additional money outside of the project. This is within the project.
I get that. I'm just saying,
Okay.
but the amount of it, but Michael is saying a principle has been invaded for him because we didn't want to do, at that time, agree on the fifth wellness center when we have one, we're building another, we haven't located the third nor the fourth. And so to make a commitment for $15 million to a fifth one, I think all of us could see the merit in that, and as did you in withdrawing your recommendation. But Michael, you had a comment.
That motion was not asking for money. That a year ago, that motion was reinforcing the intent of what we told the voters we would do as 4 or 5 wellness centers, and it was to accentuate the fact that if there's monies available at the end of all of these projects that we would like for a 5th wellness center. It was not asking for money at all at that point.
I stand corrected. Michael?
Just to clarify, David, the $22,000 here is all that's left over in Senior Wellness Center number 1's budget.
There's about $26,000 that's in contingency, and there's still some money in the line that we carry for design, administration, and testing, and that. So there's $26,000 in contingency.
Okay. And I think Michael's comment was that this was money that we allocated from excess revenues. So if we don't spend it here, does it go back to excess revenues? Does it stay in their budget? What happens to this money?
Well, I think that's something that hasn't really been addressed. We haven't had that issue until recently. The monies have just stayed in those projects so far.
Which for me, a lesson learned here, and again, I think I said it, but I want to reemphasize that as we're looking at in the future, and we're looking at expending monies out of these contingency funds, is that I would suggest that we do this with our best guess at the time, our best estimate at the time, but I would suggest that we caveat any of those motions and what we say is we allow up to a certain amount, so that if we're asking for some projects asking for $150,000 and it comes $100,000, that's what they get is $100,000, and not come back once to figure out. We all know the subcommittees are going to have needs. There's not going to be a question about that. But to me, the intent of the outcome of that discussion a year ago is that we needed to weigh everything. We need to have, for all the subcommittees. That was the discussion and the consensus.
If I may, David, have we completed all of the punch list items for Wellness Center number 1?
Yes.
I have one other question. David, is this the type of stuff that we've already bought? Our funds are only to be used for capital items. So would this have qualified? Is this the type of stuff that we would have?
Yes, sir. We bought some of this stuff before. This is some additional quantities, but some new things also. But
it's stuff that would qualify as capital?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And are we to understand that if the fans that were originally intended to be purchased had been, there would be no monies left in the contingency fund?
Not necessarily. It wouldn't have taken it down to zero.
But it would have eaten up
It would have taken some of
a
it.
portion of that 26 million, or 26,000, I'm sorry.
With the board's consent, I've been asked to have another citizen who would like to speak, and can we all agree that that's okay? All right. Patty West, you're recognized. Three, Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Patty West. The three of us are instructors at the Wellness Center. When I walked in, I looked at you and I thought, oh, you're familiar. Now I know why. We've seen you there. I'm an instructor. Deanne is over all of the fitness she's fitness coordinator, group fitness coordinator. And Diana is another one of our instructors. First of all, thank you all for building the facility. It is state-of-the-art. It's awesome. Just as our members said, we are family. We take care of one another. We care about one another. We hear life-changing stories every day. We see them every day. It's very touching, very emotional. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. I actually had the blessing of teaching the very first fitness class at the Wellness Center at 6:30 a.m. the first day it opened. I had no idea what to expect, how many people would show up, if any, their capabilities, anything. And it was an interval circuit class. Oh, what was I going to do? I had no equipment, nothing. There was no equipment provided for the classes. The gym has a minimal amount of equipment, but state-of-the-art, very good. They could use more, but absolutely no equipment was bought for the fitness classes. We have 48 classes a week. On the average, 28 people attend each class. That is over 1,400 people a week coming through our fitness group classes. no equipment. We have, thank goodness, gotten Healthy Living has helped us acquire bare minimal. The first class, I took up all of my equipment that I had at my home. It's still there. It's still being used. Deanne's done the same. Jefferson Kilgore's done the same. Our personal trainers are having to provide our own equipment. And we leave it there for the membership to use. I just plead that you all please consider funding the basic needs, the chairs, for the chair classes. I mean, we're having to turn people away. We just need your help.
Patty, thank you for coming forward. I do want to make one thing clear to you. As much as we appreciate your comments, we didn't build the Senior Wellness Center, you did. The citizens of Oklahoma City.
We funded it with our tax dollars.
Absolutely, you
Yes,
funded
sir.
it. It was our pleasure to get to work on it, but the citizens of Oklahoma City built this wellness center for you.
Well,
And we appreciate the fact you're there teaching. Thank you.
thank you so much.
We also have a request from Robert Moore. Robert, you're recognized.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. I just learned of the meeting early this morning when I was in the gym working out. So I had to take a shower, put on some clean clothes, and come over. So, my wife and I, my name is Robert Moore. I go by Bob Moore. The guys in the gym call me Bob, okay? My wife and I joined the Wellness Center in June of this year. I work out in the gym minimum 3 days a week, oftentimes up 4 and 5 days a week. I also take Tai Chi with Rusty and the other guys, okay? Do that 3 days a week for sure, sometimes as many as 5 days a week. My wife, for the first time in her life, takes yoga, okay? So, and she's finding that to be a very good experience. Tai Chi, for me, we always brag around my house that I'm an expert at falling. I can do a face plant with the best of them, okay? But in Tai Chi, I've learned good balance and how not to do that. So it's a very good skill to have, okay? Now, my wife and I are both retired. Before we joined the Wellness Center, we didn't have a lot of outside activities as far as physical fitness kinds of things. So it's added that dimension to our lives. Something I'd like to add that the other speakers haven't added. When I was young, when I was a teenager, I had a major stroke, okay? My whole left side was paralyzed, completely gone. We have the medical records to show that. When I go to the gym, it's interesting to see how many of the other older guys, and ladies, that have had strokes, heart attacks, heart surgeries, whatever, that are there doing like I do to retain their strength and get better, okay? Somebody asked me, Rusty asked me, I think it was Rusty, asked me a few months ago, you know, if I've recovered back to 100% yet, and I said probably about 98%. And if I ever get to be 100%, it'll probably be a miracle, okay? But I'm happy with the way things are. But it's like there was a lady that came in the gym yesterday. First day in the gym, she had no idea what to be doing. She had had heart surgery, and I explained some things to her. One of the trainers came over and worked with her for a while to get her started on the right kinds of exercises. And so when we as members see other new people come in, we very easily and readily embrace them into what we're doing. And it's kind of like I think Rusty has said a while ago, we're kind of like a big family, okay? Friends. My wife and I made a trip out to the East Coast recently for 3 weeks to see our kids and grandkids. When we got back, first day back in, several of the guys over at the Wellness Center asked me, Bob, where have you been? they're afraid something happened to me. So we have that friendship and that family over there. You asked about the equipment in the gym. I work out in the gym. Okay, we do need more equipment in the gym. I'm not the one to tell you what exactly we need to have, but it's not uncommon to have wait times for equipment to be able to get on some of the weights, the dumbbells, to use the big plates, to use some of the equipment like the leg press machine, some of those things. So I know the demand is there. You know, people join, they want to be able to use it. So from my heart, I appreciate any funding, additional funding you can do, or the reallocation of the funds to allow us to do those things.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here to tell us your experience.
Tom, I just want to say just one final thought on this, and that is, for those of you who know me and for those who don't, I have been an advocate for at-risk populations my whole career. This is not about the need for that equipment. Of course it's needed. It's the process for which we fund that. That's the issue for me. And I try to be fair and consistent in my reasoning on all these projects.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
I'm opposing. Am I doing the right thing, Dave? Okay.
All right. The chair thinks that the ayes have it. It is approved. That brings us into item number 11, a presentation on Senior Wellness Center number 3. David?
And this is a presentation on Senior Wellness Center number 2.
Number 2, I'm sorry.
George Marquez is here today to give us a quick update on the progress of Wellness Center 2 that is nearing completion.
Right.
You're right.
Morning. My name is George Marquez. I'm a project manager at FSB. So I'm here to just kind of give you a brief overview of where we're at in construction for Senior Health and Wellness Center number 2. So you've got these packets in front of you. So what we're showing here is just an overall aerial view of the site prior to construction. The site is located just south of Capitol Hill High School. And, you know, it would be the southwest corner of Walker and Grand Boulevard. This is a concept which was prior to design for the Wellness Center and also the west parking lot and new tennis courts. This is an aerial of a Google aerial that was that's dated back in June of this year. You can see where most of the pavement for the parking lot was in, with exception of the landscaping. But you can see that the Wellness Center has, you know, basically been built up and weathered in, and tennis courts were completed at that time. This is a drone view of the north side of the Wellness Center. You can see some of that aggregate base that's going down for the paving. This is another angle of the north view. This is another drone view of the west side. You can see the finished tennis courts. This is the south view. And this is the overall top aerial view of the center. These pics are roughly about 8 days old, so they're pretty recent. This is an overall floor plan for the facility. Just to give you a quick overview, on the northwest side, we have your clinic side. Your southwest side, you have your activity, arts and crafts. On the east side of the facility, you have your aquatics. And the south side, you have your fitness and weights and cardio, group exercise rooms. And along the north side, you have administrative offices and 2 social components, which is like the game room and cyber cafe, library, club room. And this is a slide of the mezzanine, which is the second floor where you have your track and some cardio equipment. This is a rendering of the northeast view for the facility, and this was during design phase prior to construction documents. And this is a view of what it looks like now. This is a rendering of the south side of the building near the patio area. This is a view of what it looks like now. This is a picture of the exercise room, the pool area, construction, of course, kitchen area with some of the equipment already installed, multi-purpose room, the demonstration kitchen. You can see the industrial hoods already installed and some of the counter space. Arts and crafts room looking to the west. The pharmacy and clinic reception. The area to your left is the pharmacy area, and to the right is the clinic reception. This is a picture of one of the exam rooms where most of the cabinet work has been completed. This is the cafe area looking north. And this is a cyber cafe area where people can sit down and plug in their laptops and surf the internet. Library club room looking north. Front desk area, and to your right you'll see that's the main entrance to the facility. This is your weights and cardio room looking south. And this is the mezzanine area where your track is looking south. And this is one of the many administrative offices along the north wall. This is the game room, kind of looking northwest. And so the original construction contract was approximately $2.4 million. To date, we've had change orders 1 through 9 that total approximately $352,000, which is an increase of 3.36% of the original contract amount. And so to date, the estimated project completion date is January 6th of 2018, not including any forthcoming future change orders. Any questions?
Questions? January 6th.
January 6th.
You know how soon that is?
That is just around the corner. Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're excited about that.
Absolutely, we are too.
Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, then. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. That brings us to item 12, David.
Yes, sir. Item 12 is recommend resolution approving change order number 10, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 2, increase of $17,422, project M3-H003. Change order, as I've described before, during construction, it's what I would consider routine things. There was item number 1, there was some wall base that was left out. That's the coping at the bottom in the pool area. It was just overlooked. And then, as far as overlooked, the monument letters were overlooked. We had a monument, we had plans for the monument. We left the letters out. So this is to put letters in there. And this comes with the recommendation from the subcommittee.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. It is adopted. Next item, David.
Item 13 is recommend resolution approving change order number 11, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 2, increase of $419,349, project M3-H003. There was some discussion on this item, but ultimately the subcommittee chose to strike the item from their agenda and asked us to bring back some more information for next month. So I might recommend that this board do the same.
Carol, is the process, if we want to strike this from the agenda, someone needs to move to do that?
Yes.
Been moved and seconded that we strike this item from the agenda for further consideration later. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is stricken. Next item, David.
Next item is 14, recommend resolution approving change order number 9 and amendment number 11, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements Phase 2, Project 1, I-44 West Will Rogers Trail, increase of $9,875.50, project M3-T002A. Again, project under construction. Some items that come up as we are doing construction out in the field. There's a pole that was relocated and a mast arm. It had to do with poles being relocated. It was in bad shape. Public Works provided us with a new pole and mast arm, but the new mast arm was a little bit longer, so we had to increase the foundation and had to do some rewiring on some of this stuff. So there's a change order for the labor and material to remove and reset 3 traffic signal heads. Labor and material to remove and reset the street name sign, and then there's additional wiring. And then, as I mentioned, the pole replacement is in the amendment. There's some additional conduit and a little bit of extra excavation out there to make this all right. It was at the corner of Meridian and 63rd Street. This comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Sue? Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Item 15, David.
Item 15 is recommended resolution approving change order number 8 and amendment number 10, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements, Phase 2, Project 2, I-44 West Will Rogers Trail, increase of $2,712, project M3-T002. Remember that we have 3 sections of the Will Rogers Trail under construction right now. This is another section of that. You can see that there was a change to a push-button adapter added for ADA compliance, and then there were some quantity revisions as part of the amendment. So again, routine construction items that come up in the field, and this also comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Did I hear a second?
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Next item.
Item 16 is recommend resolution approving change order number 2 and amendment number 4, MAPS 3 Will Rogers Trail, Phase 2, Project 3, increase of $93,698.98, project M3-T002B. So continuing with the Will Rogers Trail, you'll note that there is, as far as the change order, there's item number 1, which is a time extension, but it's a zero-cost time extension. It just adds days to the contractor's contract because we had some properties that we had a timeline of when they could not start because of some court action that we had, and that extended a little further than what we'd anticipated. So he's asking for those additional days, but again, at no cost. And then as far as the amendment part of it, there's additional subgrade treatment along the trail itself. There's some additional curb and gutter replacement. There's some bollards that were left out of the plans that need to be added at some driveways and some places where vehicles could possibly enter onto the trail. And then there's some other tree removal that was added needs to be added into the project. So this also comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Next item, David.
Item 17 is recommend resolution approving final plans and specifications to be advertised for bids, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements, Phase 3, Project 2, Lake Draper Trail, and authorizing the city clerk to advertise for bids to be received January 10th, 2018, project M3-T003A. If you'll recall, last month you saw two presentations on two sections of the Draper Trail. This is the third section that completes that. We have Kyle Morris here today from CEC to give you a quick presentation on what this includes.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to the Mr. Chairman and the members of the board for having us here today. And I'll keep this brisk and not hold too long, much of your time. But I don't know, do you have screens down there or? Okay, just making sure. I have to say, next page to you guys. All right, well, this is Phase 3, Project 2 for the Stanley Draper Trail. First, quick overview. Total alignment length of this segment is 4.13 miles. And about 2 miles of that includes uses portions of existing Westminster Road. The alignment begins on the south side of the dam, as I'm sure you're aware, and continues to the east and then north up to Westminster Road. There are currently 3 major crossings of roadways. The first is East Stanley Draper, the second is Southeast 134th Street, and the third is Southeast 104th Street, where this section of the trail ends. Project 2 construction cost has a budget of $3.4 million and currently is estimated at $3.3 million in construction cost. Here is a map of the alignment. Starts south side of the dam, and as I said, continues east to Westminster and then north, following the east side of the lake. Here we're going to go through a little kind of closer look at all the different pictures of along the trail. Here you can see the first picture on the bottom left is of just on the south end of the dam where the project begins. We have push alignment further away from the dam, and you can see here going through the grass with red lines where the trail will be. Further along in the middle picture, and then kind of veering back toward the dam in the third image. Kind of more of the same, getting closer to the road on the left image, and in the middle image you can see that where we're going to be paralleling the existing Stanley Draper Drive, and then to the right of that where we cross to go back on Westminster Road. Some more pictures of what the trail is going to look like, kind of give you an idea. I believe up to this point, Westminster is going to be continuing to be open up till Southeast 134th to provide access to the pier there. But past that, Westminster will be closed. And you can see there on the right, that's one of the crossings there of 134th Street. Further on, this is kind of a view where we're turning there along the bend of one of the tributaries to the lake there. And further on, you can see now the road is closed, we can go up the center of Westminster Road. See, I'll start on the bottom right. Another picture of it showing going up the road. Furthermore, north of 119th Street, we're having the trail outside of the road, just kind of in that grassed area. And third picture on the top is where the trail ends. I'll go through a handful of the lake views here real quick, just kind of I know when I like to ride my bike, I like to look at the lake. Maybe more than I should. I should probably keep my eye on the ground. But here's the first image of a lake view here on the south side. We're going to clear some of the underbrush on this project, I understand, so that view might actually improve even. Second one, here's a good view from the road here off of Westminster. You can see the lake there in the background. I'm not sure how full the lake was when this picture was taken. So I think it might actually be a little higher than that now with all the rain we've been getting. Similar view on the third image here, kind of very similar to the one before it, further on the trail. And again, here's another view looking in toward Lake Stanley Draper. The anticipated schedule is to get MAP's approval and recommendation on the December 5th, advertise for bids on December 6th if approved here, and then the notice to proceed if given approval here would be on January 31st. And end construction in September 2018. I'd like to thank you for having us here again, and do you have any questions?
Question?
I have a question.
Sure.
Along this east side of the lake, it's been years since I've been out there, but there were old dirt roads, I assume that's Westminster Road,
yes.
that were very rutted, and people went out and four-wheeled and things like that. So where the trail parallels that road, what are we going to do to keep people from going around the ruts and getting on the trail, and where we're, I guess, closing the road, how are we closing it to prevent people from getting onto the trail?
Not really sure. I believe we have bollards to block the trail, but, for every obstacle you put up, somebody in an ATV could probably get around it. At least when it's offside the road, it's going to be pretty clear that it's a bike trail. And I think, I don't have a perfect answer for that, but I believe it's closed off and intended.
I'm not sure it's going to keep people off. I mean, if it's paralleling the road, and if there's not trees or something between the trail and the road, then I think people going around those ruts are going to get up on the trail.
Yeah, I think we have it set off the road, but enough so there are some trees between the trail and the roadway at that location is the intended construction for that.
I guess that's a concern of mine, how we keep vehicles off of that.
I might just add to that we have had that discussion, and so we know that we'll have posted use of the trails, and there's always rule breakers, and even in the city, we may have some of that through our urban trail of the Will Rogers Trail. So, there might be tickets that have to be issued to help the public understand what the trails are. And so our committee is very intent on helping educate the public about the use of trails and safety. And, we're not going to put barriers along the trail because that's a safety issue also. So when they cross roads, we'll have the bollards, we'll have the safety issues there, but we can't prevent people that are going to make some choices that are against the laws. So we'll deal with that.
And Mike, I would just add to that, where we can, we've tried to separate the trail from those old roads and used heavy brush and trees to keep a separation. We've also discussed it with the ranger, and they're aware of it, and they fully expect to do more patrolling in those areas to try and keep people off. There's no guaranteed 100% economic way to do it in a safe manner that Sue talked about without putting up endangering bicyclists riding along the trail and could hit those bollards. So understand, we've discussed it, and the rangers are aware of it.
Well, I understand that, and I assume the trail is not going to be strong enough to support, a big four-wheel pickup that goes through there. So if they get up on there, they're going to tear up the trail. It's not just a matter of trespassing on it. They're going to end up tearing it up. And so I guess I would encourage in the construction phase, it's often easier to go in and bulldoze and strip everything out of there and then lay your trail. So I would encourage, I guess, where we can, we at least leave some of the trees and brush between the trail and the road to and not just go through and clear cut everything through there and open it all up.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. This is another big day for us as we take another step on these trails projects. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Thank you. Next item.
Next item is 18. Recommend a resolution approving amendment number 2 to contract for environmental engineering services with Intercon Services Incorporated, Match 3 Downtown Public Park Environmental Engineering Services, increase of $150,000, project M3-P005. This is an amount that is going to be added to his contract, assuming that it is approved, but this allows us to have an environmental engineer on call in case things come up, and that way we can respond to anything that's found out there. He's already been on the job, but this is to extend his ability to do more work. As they're out there working, things come up, and when we have him on call like this, it allows us to respond quick enough that we don't delay the contractor and get in trouble there. Also, we have money coming from a Brownfields grant that we received to do the liner in the pond, and he will help with that function, with making sure that it interfaces properly. So this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 19, David.
Item 19 is a recommend resolution approving amendment number 7 of the contract for architectural services with Populous Incorporated, MAPS 3 Convention Center, increase $399,314, project M3-C003. As you know, Populous is our architect for the convention center. As we go through the design with the convention center, we've heard a lot of comments from a lot of groups and a lot of individuals about connectivity to the parking that we will talk about here in a minute on another item. But what this allows us to do is to be independent of hotel security issues or access issues. What we're looking now is adding a pedestrian access point that would be along the north wall of the convention center, and then would have a bridge that would connect directly to the parking garage, the proposed parking garage, and not rely on a connection from the hotel to that parking garage. We're very much in the early stages. I don't have anything really to show you or a whole lot to talk about other than that, and we need to get going with this fee so that they can start design on that. I can tell you that they have looked at some things and taken a lot into consideration as far as if you remember in the last presentation, the walkway that's on the north. We wanted a big pedestrian walkway. This keeps that large walkway because this will be a second floor pedestrian walkway. It will also provide some cover on that walkway. So there's a lot of things that come into play on this. So this is an amendment to get them to start doing that design that we will bring to this body at a later time whenever we get closer and have some drawings to show for that. This comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Just a question. Is that related also to the second item perhaps that we haven't considered yet? I'm just trying to...
To the second, the next item?
The next item.
No, it's not.
Okay. Obviously, I assume this is, of course, money in the project.
It is, yes, sir.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Is there further discussion?
We're only approving the contract with Populous.
That's right. You're only approving a revised design fee so that they can start design on this, and the money will come out of the project.
So are we also approving the concept of the walkway itself?
You'll still have final plans brought to you for final approval. And as soon as I can, as soon as we have something to look at, I'll bring to this group to show, since this is something that has come up recently.
Bob?
Just a question, is this sort of a not-to-exceed number, or is this number fixed in the contract, so regardless of the actual design costs, this is what we're going to...
Yes, sir, it's a fee. It's a fixed fee.
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Next item.
The next item
is 20.
Is 20. Recommend a resolution authorizing staff to negotiate an agreement or an amendment to the current agreement with Veolia Energy Oklahoma City Incorporated to provide heating and cooling services for the MAPS 3 Convention Center. One thing that we discussed briefly, I believe, at this board, but we've discussed a lot with the subcommittee, is that we did an analysis on whether it would be more cost-effective for us to provide our own heating and cooling, or whether we could go with Veolia. The analysis so far has shown that Veolia can give us a rate that is more advantageous for the city to use that contract. What we have done with the project is that we have designed it so that we could do our own plant if we cannot get this agreement in place by the time we bid the project. So we have the space available, and we have an alternate in there for the equipment. So up until the last, and that's our goal with Veolia, is to get this agreement done before we bid the project, so we will know where we're going on this. So this gives us authorization to do that negotiations.
Opposed, no. It is adopted. Next item.
Item 21 is recommend resolution allocating $5 million of Oklahoma City capital improvement sales tax funds and authorizing the use of $4 million from electrical substation relocation funds for new parking facilities to provide public parking for the development in the North Quarter Shore area, including but not limited to the MAPS 3 Convention Center, the MAPS 3 Park, the Convention Center Hotel, and the Chesapeake Arena. If you recall, about a year ago, it's hard to believe it's been a year, that we had discussions on this. We had a presentation from Craig Freeman and Jason Fairbrush. Craig is with the Finance Department, and Jason is Director of COTPA. They gave you a presentation about the desires of the parking garage again. They are back here again for this proposal, and I'd like to invite them up.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, advisory board members. Again, my name is Jason Fairbrush. I'm the Director of the Public Transportation and Parking Department. And it's been actually a little over a year since city staff has had an opportunity to present to this group options for parking in the Convention Center and Convention Center Hotel area. And so really, my part of the presentation this morning is to help the advisory board basically reacquaint this group with how we determined what the parking need would be and our proposed solution for parking in the area, both in terms of the site and then also we'll get into the funding plan as we get towards the end of the presentation. Okay, so as David had mentioned, we're looking at parking for what we're calling the East Park area. And to give you a little bit of background, and as you may recall, back in 2014, the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority engaged Kimley Horn and Associates to help us with a parking study that really looked at the entire Core to Shore area. And as you can see in the image here on the slide, that Core to Shore area is basically that 700 or so acres south of the Central Business District, all the way down to the river bordered on the west, approximately western, and then on the east, just on the other side of E.K. Gaylord and Shields. And so as that study progressed, we divided that Core to Shore area into smaller sections to analyze the parking needs on a little bit more granular level. And one of those areas that we looked at was an area we called the East Park area. That East Park area is outlined in the blue rectangle on the map, and you can see that is the area where the Convention Center and the Convention Center Hotel will be located, along with hopefully proposed or hopefully a future development to the south. So in addition to the Convention Center and the Convention Center Hotel being located in that East Park area, we also, of course, have the Scissortail Park just on the west side of that area. And so we have a lot of different projects and development coming online that are going to generate parking needs. And so you can see that list that's on the slide, but kind of mentioned some of them. But we have the park, we have the Convention Center, we have the Convention Center Hotel, and we also have listed the Oklahoma City streetcar. And so you might say, well, how's the streetcar going to generate parking? Isn't that what people are going to use to go to and from downtown? And that's exactly right. But we're expecting a lot of visitors, a lot of people that don't necessarily live in downtown to use the streetcar to go to different events and different attractions in the urban core. And really, I mean, what a better spot to catch the streetcar if you're coming into downtown than the Scissortail Park stop. Because if you've seen the renderings of that, you'll know it's a unique stop. It's double tracked. Two streetcars can serve that particular platform. And also the D line and B line are both serviced from that platform as well. So having parking in that area, we believe will certainly support that aspect of that MAPS project too. And then in addition, we have the Chesapeake Arena, one of the original MAPS projects, as you know, just to the very north, basically across the street, just north of the boulevard of the East Park area, and then private development. So again, the idea was just to give you a sense that we did the study. we have all of these kind of parking generators that are coming online, and we've determined that our initial need of parking spaces is approximately 1,400 for that East Park area that I've described and the surrounding other projects. So what's our solution for that? Essentially what we're looking at doing now is proposing a 500-space surface parking lot that would be located directly south of the convention center in what many refer to as the expansion area. And then in addition to the surface lot, we'll need 800 to 850 spaces of structured parking. So where does that structured parking go? Well, a lot of things have changed since we last presented site options to this group. The convention center has progressed. The park is now under construction. We now know what hotel we're going to have to serve the convention center. But one thing that hasn't changed is our recommendation on the site for the parking garage to serve all of those different projects that I've described. And that is the recommended site for the parking garage you can see here is just to the northeast of the convention center or just to the east of where the hotel will be located. You can see it on the image here on the slide up in the very top right-hand corner. On the north side of the site is the Oklahoma City Boulevard. To the east is Shields. To the west is Broadway. And then on the south is 4th Street. And so, again, as a reminder, why have we looked at that site? And why is it the recommended location? Well, first of all, we certainly recognize the ample pedestrian access. So whether someone is parking their vehicle and going to the convention center, to the hotel, or maybe a couple blocks away to the park, they go across the street to the Chesapeake Arena, it's close proximity to allow pedestrian access. There's also multiple options for entry and exit, and that's very important, particularly for this garage, which we expect will serve a lot of events where we have people particularly leaving the garage, a lot of people at one time leaving the garage. So we want to have lots of options for entry and exit. Also allows for traffic circulation. As you can see, there's streets on all 4 sides of the proposed location. We can design this garage to be expandable to serve the entire district. So again, as we get further along in the project, it can be designed to be expanded. And it's also a good location to take advantage of tenant space on the first floor. We would want to, being in the proximity of the hotel and the convention center, we would want to leverage this site to activate that street. So again, with tenant space, commercial development, at least on the first floor, this site serves that objective as well. So with all these things, the land where we propose to put the parking garage must be acquired, and the current owner would have to relocate. And as we know, OG&E currently owns that site, and for those of you that are familiar with it, it's the location where we refer to the Gold Building being located. So with the convention center planned to be finished up sometime in the spring of 2020, it may seem like, well, we have a lot of time to work on this garage. Well, in fact, if you start kind of going through and looking at the tasks that are required to prepare to have the garage completed in order to serve the convention center and the hotel when it comes online, there's actually quite a few things that need to be done over the next couple of years. So first of all, we have to acquire the land. The current owner, OG&E, would need to relocate, and as part of their relocation, obviously they're going to have to do site selection, design, construction, and such of their facility. But regardless of the OG&E situation, for us to build a parking garage, we have to begin those same things, and we have to do them, rather quickly, because we still have to select an architect to help us design the garage. We have to go through the design, and we have to do the construction. And so really, as we look at a really rough timeline, thinking having the garage online at the time the convention center is finished up, ideally, we would like to be selecting an architect and be in design early in 2018. And so that's why we felt now is certainly the appropriate time to bring this recommendation back to this advisory board. And so what is the funding requirement for that project? In order to build the garage, acquire the land, fund the existing property owner's relocation expenses, we've estimated a total project cost of about $40 million. Now, with that, and Craig will get into the funding sources, and you can see that the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority has the bonding capacity to fund the majority of those costs. However, we do not have the bonding capacity to fund the entire cost. And so that's why we're obviously here today for consideration of MAPS funds to help fill that gap. And so with that, and to get into more details on the funding plan, I'll turn it over to Craig Freeman. I'll be glad to answer questions now or at the end, whatever the preference is.
Thank you. I'm Craig Freeman. I'm the Finance Director for the city, and I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you this morning. The resolution today does talk about a proposal for additional funding from the MAPS projects to help pay for a portion of the garage. As Jason mentioned, the majority of the garage can be funded by COTPA in the agreement that has been crafted with OG&E. A portion, the property that is being sold, that they would carry a portion of that, about $5 million of that, in a loan, a 20-year loan, and that's included in the $31 million that we would have from COTPA. So when we look at the funding that we can manage within COTPA to be able to pay the revenue bonds and to pay that loan, that $5 million loan, that's where COTPA's $31 million comes in. And so when we look at the estimated amount of the project, the amount that COTPA can potentially fund, and then that leaves us with the balance of what we need to find. We do have the opportunity within the MAPS 3 program, because of savings that's been recognized in the relocation of the substation that's already allocated into the convention center project. There's about $4 million in savings from that project, and then an additional $5 million is being requested from contingency or excess revenues. And so just to give that some context, this is a sheet that we've looked at with you before. I know we presented, I don't know if you all have seen it since then, but we talked about this back in April and looked at our estimates. The estimates haven't changed significantly. I'll just kind of walk through. As Chairman McDaniel pointed out early on, we've now exceeded the original estimate of $777 million in actual sales tax that's been collected. We have estimated $21.8 million in remaining sales tax revenue. We'll receive a check in December, and then a full check in January, and about a half check in February. And so this is just in line with what we have budgeted with the remainder of the sales tax funds for the city. So it's consistent with that budget. And right now we're running about 2% ahead of budget. So confident in those numbers that we should be able to recognize those by the end of the program. The interest that's been collected to date is about $16.5 million, with another $3.3 million that's estimated in interest, and that's projected interest that would come in throughout the remaining life of the MAPS 3 program. $154,000 was in building rental that was collected previously, so it's a total of projected, received and projected revenues of about $820 million. The current approved budget is $786.9 million, and so when you subtract that out, it leaves a little under $33 million in excess revenues. The current contingency balance, the program contingency balance, this doesn't include any project contingencies, but the program contingency budget is a little over $1 million for a remainder of about $34 million. The bottom line of this has changed since it was presented in April because of funds that were committed out of the contingency. The revenue picture is actually slightly better than what we were looking at on the projections back in April. That's the most significant change that's there. So the request again is to be able to use $4 million that's already allocated in the convention center project towards helping to fund the garage, and an additional $5 million from contingency and excess revenue. And that $5 million out of this amount is about 15% of that contingency and excess revenue balance. And with that, Jason and I could answer questions related to the parking or the funding request.
Thank you, guys. I want to say to the board, I asked City Manager Jim Couch if he would join us today, and I see that he has in the back at our request. What is being presented today represents several months, if not years, of negotiation with OG&E to bring us to the place where we are today. And Jim headed up that negotiation with OG&E, so wanted to be able to answer any questions that any of you have. And so they're all three available to answer any questions. And so now we'll open up the floor for questions. Been moved and seconded that we approve it.
Some questions, sir.
Michael?
Yes.
It's time for discussion, and Michael has the floor.
Okay. I got asked about numbers, Craig. So, I'm looking at the revenue and expenditure report we were given earlier today, and it shows sales tax collections of 768, and you're showing 777.
Right. This report is updated from the most recent check that we just received for November, and that report is through October.
Okay. My next question is, down here on your report, you also say less approved projects budget of $786 million, which agrees with the number that we have on our budget and obligations report. But that 786 in our budget and obligation report includes the $1,121,000 of contingency, and you seem to be adding it back in again on
Right. So we subtracted it out, the full budget, but the contingency hasn't been allocated to a specific project, and that's why it's added back in.
But it's already in this.
So if we would do that, then we would take, because the budget includes the program contingency, if we wanted to do that and not have that added back in, we could have subtracted $785 million, and that would show the remainder that's available with the contingency that could be allocated.
Okay. I'm with you. Okay. Thank you.
Craig, the extra $4 million that you described is included in the $786 million that's been approved for projects?
Yes, sir. That's my understanding. That's right.
Michael?
Yeah, I have a concern on a couple different levels. The first is has to do with the relationship that for me, this hotel is really or the parking garage is primarily going to be for the hotel. As I understand it, over half the spaces will be reserved for the hotel. Is that correct?
Approximately half. In our agreement with Omni, we have to provide we have to make available 450 spaces for Omni, and they will pay for those spaces. So it's not us just paying for that. They have to pay the market rate for those spaces.
Which is over half over half the spot. But there is no signed agreement yet. Is that correct with Omni?
There is an agreement with Omni on the hotel that we have, for the hotel that we have to provide the 450 spaces. We don't have the parking agreement because we haven't settled out the issue with COTPA building the garage and all yet. So we don't have the parking agreement, but we do have within our agreement with Omni that we have to make available 450 spaces that they will rent or lease at market rate.
But my concern for that, does that mean that they will pay a daily rate, for lack of a better term, for 450 spots? There won't be conventions all the time, and there won't be probably as important to them as sometimes because they won't have a lot of business.
I know that the intent is that they want to have 450 reserved spaces, as been in the discussion. Yeah. So Kathy will answer that. Kathy's been working in the negotiations with Omni, so I'll let Kathy answer that.
Kathy, thank you for being here.
Sure. I think the agreement with Omni is more like a reciprocal use agreement, so that they want to have 450 spaces available. They've agreed to pay market rate for those spaces. That precise market rate has not been negotiated yet, as Craig mentioned. But the agreement is such that if they don't need the 450 spaces, but we do, we can use them. And if they need more than 450, and we have them available, they can use those and pay for them. So it's really, they need 450 available, but if we need the spaces and they're not using them, we can use them.
Kathy, you see hope you see what I'm asking then. Does that mean then they will pay, for whatever that means, for 450 space, whether they use them or not.
There will be some element of them paying whether they use them or not. What that exact rate is, I don't know today. But I also want to say, though, that this garage has been sized based upon what Omni told us they needed. So.
No, I understand that, what they needed when they need them, though. That's what I'm getting at. So my concern is that we don't have that agreement. So we don't know how much money is coming in, nor do we know how much of that parking will be available at times when, of course, we probably do know when they're not using it. But it seems to me until we have some sort of an agreement, it just makes no sense to agree to this without knowing just what that agreement will be. That's the first concern I have. I'm not so against the parking garage per se. I think if it can be demonstrated that the MAPS 3 programs are utilizing it. Having said that, again, most of the hotel will be used spots for the hotel guests. My main concern has to do with the process. And I read the paper this morning, and it struck me that the heading of the article provided here was Oklahoma City has deal for MAPS 3 parking garage. Well, when I voted for MAPS, and most of the folks voted for MAPS, there wasn't a parking garage as one of the projects. I think that until we vet all of the projects, including, and I've said this before, the consideration for a 5th wellness center, I think we risk losing the trust of the citizens and the voters of Oklahoma City that we are perhaps doing this parking garage before, in fact, we are going to do the things that we said we were going to do, and the largest item probably being, or the cost, being the 5th wellness center. I think we risk losing their. For me, I would rather hold off on this decision until we know that we are going to do what we told the voters that we were going to do.
I think it's clear that we're doing what we told the voters we were going to do, whether it's 4 or 5 wellness centers. But the biggest complaint that I've heard about MAPS 3 is that, well, we built all this great stuff, but where are we going to park? And so I think that we're adding to the MAPS 3 program something that people want to be assured of, that they'll be able to come down and find a place to park to use it.
Bob? Yeah, for me, there are 3 issues. The first was just the numbers and the economics. When we first addressed this, I didn't realize it was a year ago now that it had come up. It seems less time, but I think most of us were concerned at that point that there was still, especially the park and convention center, yet to be bid. We really didn't know what those numbers were going to look like. Now we're much closer to the end, and although we're not totally there yet on the convention center, we have a pretty good idea of what the real numbers are going to be. And so I have a much higher level of confidence that we can address this issue from an economic standpoint, knowing the numbers that we do. The second issue is something that really, I think, relates to what Mike is talking about, and that is helping fund the parking garage consistent with the MAPS project and what we told the citizens they were getting. But I think it is. Parking is something that, if not explicit, is certainly implicit in the concept of building a park, building a convention center, doing all of these things around the Chesapeake Arena, bringing the Oklahoma City Boulevard right down the middle of all of that. And it is a given that we do not have sufficient surface parking to accommodate all the needs that we have for these various events as things are completed. And so I think it is completely consistent with the concept of MAPS to say we have to provide parking of some sort. And Mike, I'm not sure that when we were talking about a convention center that we necessarily said we're going to have X number of spots of surface parking south of the convention center. None of that was really part of the design. The idea was we'd have a convention center. And if people are going to attend a convention center, they have to have a place to park their vehicles. And so I don't think it's inconsistent with the public expectation that we would provide that mechanism through parking of some fashion, whether it's surface, structured, whatever, to accommodate all the people we hope take advantage of all of these MAPS projects. So while the specific format, structure, location may not have been part of some original projection, it's no different than Senior Wellness Center number 1. It was implicit that we'd have parking there, although there wasn't any specific design for how much parking would be or where it would be located. The third issue for me is timing. In an ideal world, I don't disagree with what Mike said. It'd be nice to defer this until we knew all of the hard numbers and had that information in front of us, but I don't think that's a luxury that we have. We sometimes say it is a bit of a Rubik's Cube. We've got to move one piece to get another piece to move, and I think that's where we are in this situation. So perhaps not totally ideal, but I'm very comfortable at this point approving this recommendation, taking these funds, especially given the fact we've had those savings on the relocation expense, and we're looking at less out of the contingency fund than what we had originally anticipated.
Thank you. Kathy, is there a reason why we haven't negotiated that parking deal with Omni?
Other than what Craig mentioned, is that we have not had a firm deal on the parking garage and the development of it yet. So until we knew a little bit more, it really was premature to begin talking about pricing with Omni.
Does that mean until the city says we're going to do it, it's only then that we sit down and negotiate the terms of the rental?
Well, we'll start that as soon as this decision about funding is made. We're already scheduled some internal meetings to begin those discussions.
I understand. I would just think that would have been the first to know the terms. That's all.
There's just a lot to do to implement that agreement. So.
And Bob, the only exception I would make in terms of like the wellness centers is that we built the wellness centers, but we had an operating agreement with the operator before we built them. And that's sort of what I'm getting at here in terms of the contract with Omni regarding the parking before we built them. That's to be a difference.
And, I'm going to go back to looking at the concepts of all the projects when they originally came out to MAPS. I mean, it would be absolutely wonderful for programming, especially for John Q. and Jane Q. Public, if all of those could come out and our specification documents were accompanied with all of the knowledge and all of the writing and everything that we needed to vote on those things and move forward. But that's totally impossible, because as we know in the time frame it would take to do that and then bring it to a vote, everything that would be written in there would have to be rewritten to current time. And I think that's where we are right now. When we look at the original envisions for Quarter Shore and the park, there was parking under the park. But heaven only knows there's not enough money in the world to put parking under that park. We're having to spend money right now to remove, 3-foot diameter piers that who knows why they were under a post office. Maybe there was a bunker planned for some nuclear reaction thing. But there was parking. The same thing with the current location of the convention center. There is parking. So I think the citizens of Oklahoma City would be absolutely enraged if these projects were built without adequate parking. And I can remember it from the earliest days of the board meetings and many of our subcommittee meetings. Everybody said, where are they going to park? Where are we going to park? Where are we going to park? And we heard COTPA's doing a parking study. The city's doing a parking study. COTPA could have decided to put this parking garage anywhere. Didn't have to be here. So I look at it that the MAPS project is getting a $31 million gift from COTPA. We're only having to spend $9 million on a parking garage. It could be a whole lot more than that. It would be a whole lot more than that to put it under the convention center. It would be astronomical to try to put it under parking. And so in a city that's growing exponentially in what we're doing in our downtown core, it's called core for a reason. It's a wheel. And a wheel has to have a strong core or it falls apart. And parking is its element to everything. How many people take public transportation here to certain places? Raise your hand. No, we're a vehicle society. We drive. You know, I think part of MAPS also promises some economic development in the private sector. I see a great opportunity for park and ride lots, as there are in other large cities that I've visited or lived in, so that people can take advantage of transportation as it comes. But if we today can make a decision to, I think, very responsibly spend $9 million on parking, that there's no other way we could do it without this gift from COTPA, we would be irresponsible in looking at that oath that we all took when we started this project to responsibly spend every single one of those pennies.
Well, Michael.
Bob, I went through the same thought process I think that you did, and those were some of the same concerns I had. And of course, as everyone knows, I think I was the one that kind of proposed earlier on that we not start allocating the excess revenues until we knew more. I guess I would say I think we know more now than we did then. We don't know everything, but we know more, and I think I feel comfortable that if there's $34 million worth of excess revenues, that should be sufficient to deal with the issues I think that will come up that I was concerned with, at least, on the other projects and things. So in that regard, I'm in favor of this project.
Well, when we voted, Michael, in 2009, December of 2009, we painted this with a rather broad brush. There were conspicuously few details in what the voters voted on. And one of the things that they introduced, that the mayor and council introduced, was the idea of having citizen involvement, subcommittees and an oversight board that would, to my way of thinking, would exercise good judgment and to look at it and make the best decisions they could when things were not all foreseen. And from the standpoint of the Convention Center subcommittee, timing is really important. I mean, not just to add on to the points that have already been made, I'll just say not only is it important to have it, but from our standpoint, opening the Convention Center and still trying to get the garage built would be something that we would rather not have to deal with if we don't. And the fact is, the main risk of MAPS is over. The money not coming in was the one single number one risk. We've got it. Let's do this right. That's what the citizens are asking us to do. They're not asking us to know the answer to every question in advance. They're asking for our best judgment about it, and I'm going to vote yes on this because I believe that prudence and good judgment dictate we try to get this done in a timely fashion. And the fact that we got the money to do it, unlike MAPS 1, where we had to go back to the taxpayers, you may recall. So this is a pleasant problem to have, and I feel really good about the presentation that's been made and the way to do it. Jim, I didn't want to bring you in here to answer questions and then feel like you wasted your time. Do you want to have anything you want to add to it? Does he have to fill out a thing to speak, Karen? I'm sorry.
You know, I really like some of the comments were heard here today. When MAPS was voted on, we didn't have all the answers that were laid out for it. We talked about COPTA being part of the solution for the parking. And COPTA could have been the total solution for the parking had it not been this site. This site's expensive, and that wasn't COPTA's decision where to put the convention center or where the site ended up being. And it's a really good site, and the site will provide other benefits because if we built the convention center potentially on one of the other sites we're looking at, we built a garage there, it wouldn't be there to help the arena. This helps the arena, so there's some synergy with this site. But COPTA is coming in, doing what they can to get it done. They didn't pick the location of the site or the cost to acquire that site, and that's why we're here today, is because it's that gap that needs to be filled to make it viable. And it's really going to be a unique site for the garage, being able to serve the arena, the convention center, the hotel, the park, and providing a parking also for the modern streetcar. So I think it's going to be a pretty special solution. So, thank you all.
Any questions for Jim? All right. I'm sorry, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. That brings us to item number 22. Does anybody dare have any new business today at 101? Okay, no new business today at 101. Item 24 is an informational item, which I would ask you to look over. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to ask David now. David, you're willing to make your update on all the programs at the next meeting, aren't you?
I sure am.
That a boy. All right. Are there additional comments by board and staff? If not, are there other citizens here that would like to be heard? If not, Michael Adams has moved we adjourn, seconded by Bob Nalen. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned.